So, one of the things that's kind of scary, or can be scary at the very least, is how there's a lot of people actually out there who'll try to extort you, who'll try to take advantage of you, who'll try to persuade you and sell you on recruiting you to their ideas or their organization or whatever. Now, these are the tactics that spies are using. And I heard some pretty scary statistics the other day. It was from the I forget actually where it was. I don't exactly recall. Excuse me. I don't exactly recall where it was. I believe it was from some podcast that I was listening to. But that's irrelevant. The point is, there is in the United States, including both American and foreign spies, approximately about 50 to 60,000 spies, give or take. That's a guesstimate based on somebody's assumption. I don't know. I got no idea. I got no clue. So basically what that means is if you're talking to somebody, then maybe every 100 or so person might be a potential spy, according to statistics and according to the rough math and the average. Of course, that doesn't mean that your next door neighbor might be a spy, but they may exist and they may endure and last for years. Because here's another thing that I hadn't thought of, but of course, I'm not the most clever guy in the world. Not the stupidest guy either, but that's beside the point. But anyway, there is something called a sleeper spy or a sleeper agent, I think it is. Somebody who's brought up to be a spy all the way from when they're young. And these people exist. They can go undercover for years and years, for 20 plus years. For 20 years, they'll report on you. They'll hang out with you. Maybe they'll even marry you or get intimate with you. And then it's all just to collect information on behalf of their governments. And here's the critical. Now, just so we're clear here. Number one, I obviously don't work for any sort of organization or government or whatever that's sort of like designed to collect information on people. That would just be dumb of me in that case, making this video. This is what I've heard on podcasts and I've read it also, and I've heard it elsewhere in conversations and so on. Basically, I'm also using my common sense, my common knowledge, that is. And these people are actually using persuasion. They're using sales tricks and tactics. This goes back actually to the now infamous lecture that some Soviet defector gave to, I believe he actually gave multiple lectures in the beginning of the 1980s. I think his name was Yuri Bezmenov, some Russian or Soviet defector who surrendered himself to the U.S. authorities and then taught them how the Soviet Union essentially tried to operate and affect and spy on America. And part of the reason, or part of the way, was demoralization. Demoralization. Then I forget what the second term was, but let's start with demoralization. They want their own inhabitants, their own citizens, to be demoralized and then turn against the government, to become communist in that case, right? And I mean, obviously, I don't live in America, so I can't speak for America, but what I'm seeing and what I'm watching is there is a lot of pro-communist stuff going on there. So maybe that's a sign. Who knows? That's beside the point. The point is, this systematic indoctrination is precisely what the governments are using, and the organizations and the agents on you. This is sales 101. Keep repeating a lie for long enough, and people are going to believe it, right? They are going to believe you. Keep repeating a lie to a certain group of individuals who are inconvenienced by that group that you're lying about. For instance, young broke men who can't afford to buy a home or can't feed their families. Oh, it's that group. Oh, it's that group. Those are the people. Let's blame them. And even if that's not true, that's beside the point, because to these people, that's real. It's 100% real, because they can't feed their families. They can't buy a home. They need to work 2 jobs or 3 jobs. So it all makes sense, right? That's sales and persuasion. Here's something else, something very, very fascinating. I think it was during the Korean War. Some prisoners of war they weren't tortured, but they were indoctrinated by the Soviets and by the North Koreans. These are Western, largely American prisoners of war who were indoctrinated, brainwashed, and by the Soviets and the North Koreans, and they were attempted, or the Soviets and the North Koreans essentially attempted to make the Americans turn on their own government by indoctrinating them, not by torture, not by physical torture, but by making them surrender to their way of thinking in their minds. Because if I can control your thoughts by pure brainwashing, then I can control you. Think about that. That's the soft power. Those are the soft wars that you need to watch out for. And also, that's the soft way of selling. That's Persuasion 101. That's why it's so powerful. So mind yourself a lot when you're reading the news. There's plenty of other, of other examples about that as well, or about this thing as well. In closing, because I have to go soon, because this is a very short video, but essentially, this systematic indoctrination works, and it works. And the long enough you keep repeating a lie, eventually people are going to believe it. Such as, for instance, the fine people of Charlottesville hoax. I'll go through that in a separate video, but this is essentially what the so-called dark persuasion and sales entails. So think about that, and think long and hard about that. All right. If you want to learn more about persuasion, energy, and sales, and so on, then get subscribed to my email list. The link to do so is in the description, wherever you're watching and or listening to this, and I'll see you there.